Psychology of Gen X. There's something about Generation X that doesn't quite fit the modern world. And no, it's not because they refuse to learn TikTok or because they still print directions from MapQuest. It's deeper than that. This generation, born roughly between 1965 and 1980, carries a psychological blueprint that's becoming extinct. And if you understand what shaped them, you'll understand why they navigate life so differently from everyone around them. Let's start with something most people overlook: the key around your neck. Picture this. You are 8 years old and the house is empty. The key around your neck lets you in. There is a note on the counter, maybe instructions about snacks or homework, and that is it. For the next 3 hours, you are alone. This was not neglect. This was Tuesday. This was normal. And something extraordinary happened in those quiet hours. You learned that you could be alone and be okay, that you did not need constant supervision to survive an afternoon. That boredom was not an emergency requiring immediate adult intervention. While today's children have every minute scheduled and every activity supervised, you were developing autonomous self-regulation. The ability to structure your own time, entertain yourself, and solve your own problems without someone hovering 3 feet away, ready to jump in. You made your own snack. You decided whether to do homework now or later. You chose what to watch on the 4 channels available, and you learned to live with your choices because there was no one there to override them or fix them. This created resilient adults who do not panic in solitude, who can spend an entire weekend alone and emerge energized rather than anxious, who do not need constant external input to feel grounded. The latchkey kid experience built an internal foundation that does not require other people's presence to remain stable. And here is something most people do not realize about Gen X. They were the bridge generation between analog and digital. They remember life before the internet, before cell phones, before email. But they also adapted to all of it. They learned to code on Commodore 64 computers in computer labs. They were there when the first personal computers arrived in homes. They watched the internet transform from dial-up modems and AOL chat rooms into the always-on connectivity we have now. This gives them a unique perspective. They can appreciate modern technology without being dependent on it. They know how to navigate the digital world, but they also remember how to navigate without it. When their phone dies, they do not panic. When GPS fails, they can still find their way. When the internet goes down, they can still function, because they spent the first half of their lives figuring things out without any of it. Now let's talk about Saturday mornings. You're awake at 6:30, planted in front of the television in your pajamas. Transformers, He-Man, Thundercats. For 4 hours, you're locked in. And here's the thing, if you missed it, it was gone. No recording, no streaming, no second chances. Monday morning at school, when everyone was talking about what happened, you either saw it or you didn't. This created a relationship with time that younger generations don't have. You learned that moments are finite, that being present matters because some opportunities only come once. Modern life conditions people to expect everything on demand. But your brain was wired in an era where timing mattered. This translated into adults who understand that deadlines are not suggestions, who show up when they say they will, who value presence because they know what it costs to miss something. Let's shift to your radius of freedom. Summer day, you are 10 years old. Your mom says, "Be home when the streetlights come on." That's it. No GPS, no check-ins, just that boundary of independence. You grab your bike and disappear for 8 hours. You are navigating the neighborhood completely unsupervised, moving from your friend's house to the park to the creek, making decisions in real time about where to go next. When you got thirsty, you drank from a garden hose. When arguments erupted about whose turn it was, you worked it out yourselves. No adult referee. This built environmental mastery. You developed internal maps of not just streets but social territories. You knew which yards were safe to cut through, which older kids to avoid, how to read situations quickly. Generation X. Adults have exceptional situational awareness because their gut has been making these calls since elementary school. But you did get hurt. Flying down the street on your bike, racing your friend, your front tire hits a pothole. You go over the handlebars. The asphalt shreds your palms, blood soaking through your jeans. You lie there checking if anything is broken, then get up. You get back on the bike because walking home would be shameful. When you reach home, your mom hands you a washcloth, maybe hydrogen peroxide that stings like hell, tells you to be more careful, and sends you back outside. No emergency room, no trauma processing, just go play. You learned that pain is temporary. Falling does not mean you are broken. Getting back up is just what you do. This created high distress tolerance. When things go wrong, Generation X does not catastrophize. They assess the damage and handle it themselves. Now fixing things. Your bike chain falls off from doing wheelies. You flip it upside down, hands covered in black grease, fumbling with the chain until it clicks back into place. You figured it out yourself. The television loses signal. You climb behind the cabinet, check the antenna, and jiggle the cable. The VCR eats your tape. You carefully extract it, hoping you have not ruined the movie. When something broke, you did not replace it or call an expert. You opened it up and tried to understand it. This created adults who are not intimidated by complexity, who assume they can learn how things work, who do not feel helpless when technology fails. The discipline was different too. You mouth off at dinner, roll your eyes with too much attitude. You hear the chair scrape. You see the look. Consequences were immediate and clear. No timeout, no family meeting about feelings. You crossed a line, faced the consequence. Incident over. This wired your brain for cause and effect delivered in real time. Actions have immediate consequences. Authority figures mean what they say. Modern parenting favors explanation and negotiation. But you grew up where rules were clear and enforcement was swift. This created adults who understand hierarchy, who can take direction without needing emotional validation, who know when to push back and when to fall in line. Let's talk about the phone. The one attached to the wall with that coiled cord you would stretch for privacy. You want to call your friend. You dial from memory. But you do not know who will answer. It could be their mom, their brother, or their dad, ready to interrogate you. You had to be prepared to speak to anyone, politely, because if you were not, they would hang up. That trained social navigation is something today's kids never get. Speaking to adults with respect, handling small talk, gauging from tone whether it is a good time, and if the line was busy, you called back, 10 times if necessary. No texting, no voicemail, just persistence. When you finally got them on the phone, you talked for hours. Those conversations built intimacy that text messages never could. You heard tone, laughter, silence when they were upset. You learned to read between words because words were all you had. Entertainment was different. You want to see a movie, you bike to the video store, browse VHS cases, read the backs. The movie you want might be gone, someone else rented it. You choose something else, pay $3, take it home. You watch it all the way through, fully present, no phone to check. When it's over, you rewind it before returning it because the sign says, "Be kind, rewind." This entire process taught delayed gratification. You wanted something, worked to get it, experienced it fully. Modern streaming eliminated the arc. You can have anything immediately, which means nothing feels special. Gen X learned that anticipation makes the payoff better, that working for something gives it value. Music was personal. You would sit by the radio, finger on the record, waiting for your favorite song. When it finally played, you would capture it, DJ talking over the intro and all, or you would save your allowance for weeks to buy an album, take it home, read every word of the liner notes while it played. You did not have 10,000 songs. You had maybe 30 cassettes, but you knew every word because you had listened hundreds of times. Music was not background noise. It was curated and meaningful. Making someone a mixtape was vulnerability. Hours selecting the right songs in the right order, writing out the track list by hand, decorating the case. You were giving them a piece of yourself, not a playlist link. The mall was your social laboratory. Before social media turned identity digital, the mall was where you learned to exist in public. Your parents drop you off with $10 and 3 hours. You are on your own, making decisions, performing identity in real time. If you wanted to be a skater, you dressed like one and had to back it up. No curated Instagram feed to hide behind. Your identity was physical and subject to constant verification. You learned to read social cues at an elite level. You could tell from across the food court whether a group was friendly or hostile. You understood hierarchies intuitively because you watched them play out every weekend. This created sophisticated social intelligence that carries into adulthood. Mistakes were different. You do something stupid at 15. Say something mean, show up uninvited, fail to impress someone. It is embarrassing. Everyone knows by Monday. But there is no permanent record. No one filmed it, no screenshots, no viral moment. The mistake lives in memories, and memories fade. By summer, most people forget. You got to be young and stupid in private. You got to make mistakes and learn from them without them following you forever. You got to reinvent yourself. This gave Gen X invaluable freedom to experiment, to try on different identities, to fail without it defining them permanently. Modern teenagers do not have that luxury. Everything is documented, every mistake potentially viral, but you figured out who you were in relative privacy. You were 13 years old, with a paper route. You woke at 5 in the morning, folded newspapers, loaded a canvas bag that weighed half as much as you did, and rode your bike through the dark delivering them. Once a month you went door to door collecting payment, looked adults in the eye, and learned to handle rejection. You weren't playing at responsibility. People counted on you. Or maybe you worked fast food at 16, on the register during the Friday rush. Orders coming faster than you could process, the grill backed up, customers impatient. You learned what $1 was worth when you knew exactly how many floors you mopped to earn it. This built the work ethic Generation X carries today. They do not need someone watching to do their job. They show up, do the work, and go home. Because that is what work is. Boredom was real. Saturday afternoon, nothing on TV, friends aren't home, you've read all your magazines. You're just bored. So you sit with it. Stare at the ceiling, reorganize your room, flip through that catalog again. Eventually, something happens. An idea surfaces. You start writing, drawing, taking apart an old radio. Boredom was the birthplace of creativity. When there's nothing to do, your brain generates its own entertainment. You learned that you don't need external stimulation to survive, that your own thoughts are enough company. Modern life eliminated boredom. There's always something to scroll through. But Gen X learned to sit with nothing and make something from it. They can be alone with their thoughts without anxiety, can wait without reaching for their phone, can handle understimulation because boredom isn't an emergency. Love at 17 was terrifying. You like someone. No checking their Instagram, no direct messages. You had to talk to them face to face. You work up the courage for days, find them at their locker, heart pounding, and say something. Anything. If it goes well, you ask for their number. Then you have to call them at their house, risk their parent answering. This was high-stakes social interaction. No hiding behind a screen, no editing your words, no deleting mistakes. You had to be present, vulnerable, brave. If they rejected you, everyone knew. But you survived because you had to. This built emotional resilience. Generation X learned early that vulnerability is necessary, that rejection will not kill you, that the only way to connect is to risk being hurt. They do not need 3 days to craft the perfect text message. They say what they mean and deal with whatever happens. Here is the thing about all of this. Every single one of these experiences was training you for something. The latchkey afternoons taught self-reliance. The unsupervised adventures built judgment. The analog communication developed social courage. The physical work instilled discipline. The boredom sparked creativity. The mistakes made in private allowed growth. When Gen X looks at the modern world and feels like they are on a different planet, it is because they are. They came from a world that required you to figure things out, to show up, to handle discomfort, to be present, to work for what you wanted, and to accept that not everything would go your way. They were not raised to be safe, they were raised to be capable. And there is a massive difference between the two. So when Gen X seems impatient with lengthy explanations or resistant to hand-holding or weirdly comfortable with uncertainty, understand this. They have been handling uncertainty since they were 8 years old, coming home to an empty house. They have been solving their own problems since they were 10 when their bike chain fell off 3 miles from home. They have been navigating social complexity since they were 12 and had to call someone's house without knowing who would answer. This is not stubbornness. It is competence. It's not cynicism. It's pattern recognition. They've seen enough economic crashes, enough broken promises, enough institutions fail to know that the only person you can truly count on is yourself. They watched their parents get laid off after decades of loyalty. They entered the workforce during recessions. They bought houses right before the market crashed. They learned not to trust promises, only track records. Not to believe what institutions say, but what they do. Not to count on security from external sources, but to build it themselves. And they made peace with that a long time ago. The world keeps telling Gen X to adapt, to get with the program, to learn the new platforms and embrace the new ways. And they do adapt, because they're survivors. But they'll never fully belong to this hyper-connected, over-supervised, overstimulated modern world, because they remember something different. They remember freedom. Real freedom. The kind that came with risks and mistakes and consequences. The kind that built character instead of protecting it. They remember what it felt like to disappear for an entire day and come home when the streetlights flickered on. They remember the satisfaction of fixing something with their own hands instead of buying a replacement. They remember conversations that lasted hours because there was no text message to send instead. They remember working for what they wanted and the pride that came with earning it themselves. They remember what it meant to have privacy, to make mistakes that did not live forever online, to figure out who they were without an audience watching and commenting on every decision. Every time you see someone from Gen X doing something the hard way, when there is an easier option available, every time they seem weirdly resistant to technology that is supposed to make life simpler, every time they choose to handle something themselves instead of asking for help, remember this. They are not being difficult. They are being exactly who they were trained to be. Independent, capable, self-reliant. Skeptical of shortcuts because they know shortcuts usually have hidden costs. Comfortable with discomfort because they have been sitting with it since childhood. They carry within them a blueprint for living that is becoming extinct. A way of moving through the world that values competence over comfort, capability over convenience, presence over performance. That understands the difference between being safe and being capable. That knows security comes from what you can do, not from what others promise to do for you. And maybe, just maybe, the rest of us could learn something from it. Because in a world that is increasingly automated, mediated, and curated, there is something almost revolutionary about a generation that still believes in showing up, doing the work, and handling their own problems. Gen X did not get participation trophies. They got experience. They did not get constant supervision. They got freedom. They did not get bubble wrap. They got scars. And those scars taught them something that is hard to learn any other way. That you are tougher than you think. more capable than anyone gives you credit for, and that the only person you can truly rely on is the one looking back at you in the mirror. That is not a sad realization. It is a liberating one. Because when you know you can handle whatever comes, when you have already survived worse with less, when you have been figuring things out on your own since you were barely old enough to reach the kitchen counter, the world becomes a lot less scary. And that quiet confidence, that unshakable self-reliance, that is what separates Gen X from every generation that came after. They do not need you to believe in them because they already believe in themselves. They learned that lesson a long time ago in an empty house with a key around their neck and 3 hours until anyone came home.